there, I'm Square, and let's talk about anime. So here we have Yashahime episode 5. We begin the episode with a new demon, Jakotsu Maru. We see him removing the bones from a bandit through the bandit's mouth. So a pretty interesting way to start off an episode. We then make it to the village where things are a little more chill for now. The three girls split up. Moroha leaves in order to turn in her bounty. To and Setsuna talk with the rest of the demon hunters. One, to find out the location or any information on the dream butterfly. But Setsuna seems a little bit more interested in a demon to hunt down. Next, we see Moroha meeting with Jubei, the corpse dealer. And we find out she owes a debt to him. So he sends her off to defeat Tokotsu once and for all. Towa and Setsuna seek out Jakotsu Maru, the son of Tokotsu, who is harvesting bones in hopes of reviving his father. They attack him, and after he escapes, they follow him back to his and his father's castle. There, they meet up again with Moroha, who is seeking Tokotsu. They team up, more or less, and approach their demon marks. Jakotsu Maru has mostly revived his father at this point, which leads to a pretty big fight where Moroha does most of the heavy lifting, finally showing us her Beni Yasha form before completely losing her power and passing out for the next day. The twins clean up the mess and completely destroy Tokotsu. He disappears and his castle along with him. So first off, I want to say that I called it. Miroku was a flashback. I didn't want to be right on this. I really want to see more characters, most of the main cast from Inuyasha. I had a feeling that the little we saw of Miroku, it wouldn't be the three girls meeting up with him. I didn't want to be right, but here we are. But from him, we did get a little insight into maybe what's going on and how much the main cast knows. Standout things about Miroku is the fact that he was a monk traveling alone, which he should not be. He should be with his wife, Sango, and if he's not with her, then didn't he and Inuyasha kind of team up to fight demons together? So again, question mark, where is everybody? And he also had a chant almost to say to Setsuna, telling her she has to defeat her parents when it comes to it. I don't know if it was supposed to be a plural parents or if it was just supposed to refer to Sesshomaru. Hard to say with the English translation, but has me concerned. We already know that at least Trikio wants Sesshomaru taken out, but parents? The mom as well? I hope not. I guess we'll have to see. Now my overall feelings on the episode, other than that whole bit, the pacing wasn't great. I have seen some comments in the community where people weren't fans of the pacing of the show, but I haven't had a problem with it up until this point. I really feel like this story could have been told in 2 episodes. If they're putting such an emphasis on these 4 perils, you'd think they'd build them up a little bit. They just kind of feed Tokotsu and Jakotsu Maru in a couple minutes at the very end of an episode. Didn't really make them seem like threats. I feel like a little buildup would have really, really helped. It makes me think of Yura of the Hair, who was, an early demon that Inuyasha and Kagome fought. But again, it's something that took 2 episodes. They built her up a little bit. We got some flashes of Kagome going back to the modern day, then choosing to go back to the past, and was able to drop that exposition, but at the same time, tell a really compelling story about Yura and show how powerful she was. That fight was a long fight with lots of up and downs and thinking Kagome was dead at some point. I feel like this episode could have really benefited from being stretched out a little. which would have also given us time for Toa to react to being in the past. I mean, she hasn't been to the feudal era since she was 4, which she hardly remembers and thought was maybe a dream. You'd think she would have like a bigger moment. She had a bit of a moment in episode 4, but if I was like sent to the past suddenly, I don't think I'd just adapt to it and be like, all right, let's go. You know, in the first couple seconds, like questions, reactions, talk to people, look around, you know, to go back to Inuyasha like Kagome did. We had a good amount of time of her just wandering around, what's going on, asking questions. And even for a couple episodes in the beginning, she just wasn't used to anything at all, which makes sense. I'd like to see some fish out of water scenes with Toa, and I hope they don't just rush ahead. It makes it seem like there's no emotional reaction to something that should have an emotional reaction. But it's seeming like they have a story they want to tell that they want to get done pretty quickly. They're introducing what seems to be that overall villain in Karen Maru, who has the 4 perils that are under him that are kind of maybe minions, maybe like first mates or something, like co-leaders, something like that. They're super powerful. There's 4 of them. One even had the jewel, which makes me think the others might have the rainbow jewels as well. That would give us 7 colors if the 4 demons did, and then the 2 from the twins. We need a little more build up. We don't need to be rushing through these things. Is Yashahime only going to be 1 season? It doesn't need to be. From what I've seen, it's doing pretty well. People are liking it. Like, don't rush. Slow down a little bit. Let the series breathe. Either way, there were some really great things about this episode. Seems like Moroha is a berserker. So that really made me laugh. One thing I've been thinking for a long time is just the way that Moroha acts is very similar to characters that I like to play in tabletop games like D&D. The type that tends to be kind of happier, bouncier than everybody else, but also, you know, bounty hunters or gamblers or thieves that are looking for gold. I know that she's a berserker. This is giving me serious D&D vibes. It's pretty funny, but it was really neat seeing her Benny-Yasha form and then hearing how much she's like her grandfather. I mean, this is what we heard from Miyoga, who is good to see again. He's just like himself, and it makes sense that he'd be following Moroha around because he's, you know, that bloodline's like servant almost. So it's really neat to see him. And then the comments he had about Moroha having blood that's closest to Toga's when she's in her Benny-Yasha form. Interesting. This is something I'm glad we get a little bit of insight into Moroha here. But one thing I'm finding insanely frustrating about this series, and it makes me wonder if I'm just thinking too hard on it, if I'm just looking too much into things, maybe this is just writer's choice, but nobody reacts to anything. Like, nobody's asking questions. Isn't this the first time that Kaede is seeing Toa since the twins were taken away by Sesshomaru? It seems like the people of the village know that these are Sesshomaru's kids. They're saying it like, oh, this is your sister. Just like it's a throwaway. Is this the first time that Kaede's meeting Moroha? She mentioned she sees Kagome in her, so she obviously remembers Kagome. Where is Kagome? Is she wondering where Kagome is? Does she know? No reaction to Moroha at all. Does she know where Moroha has been all this time? Does she care? You'd think she'd care. Isn't this her great-grand niece, kind of? I mean, Kikyo reincarnation to Kagome who has a kid? I mean... So again, is this just the writers? They don't want to tackle this of people reacting to each other? Do they just want to kind of push the story forward? Are we rushing a bit? We don't want to spend time on these thoughts, these reactions to the previous series, to Inuyasha. Is that what they're trying to do? Is just leaving that in the past and trying to move forward these 3 characters? I feel like it's a lost opportunity if that's what they're choosing to do. I want to see these characters react to things and care. By seeing characters care, it makes me care more. So I'm hoping there's a story explanation behind this and it's not just a creative choice. But I guess we will see. Lastly, I don't know how everybody feels about Kikyo. I was never her biggest fan. Nothing to her character. She's a very tragic character, but when you're presented with a story where your main character, Kagome, has a rival, you tend to dislike the rival. You root for the main character. That typically is what happens in stories. So innately, I'm not the biggest fan of Kikyo. I'm not a hater of her, but meh. It's a little frustrating to keep seeing Kagome be referred to as Kikyo's reincarnation. Now, I kind of get why. Kikyo was a very known figure in the past as, this powerful priestess. Her name carries weight. But it's a little disappointing that Kagome's name doesn't by this point. She has done a lot throughout the series of Inuyasha. There were rumors around her and Inuyasha from way early on. Like, we look at, what would it be, like episode 10, book 3 or 4, when we finally see Shippo, and he's with the Thunder Brothers. And the Thunder Brothers are like, oh, I've heard of this half-demon in Inuyasha. People are hearing about them and what they are doing. So it seems like rumors of Kagome should be making their way around the world, especially the more they do, the more they meet, the more they defeat. Why isn't Kagome her own person yet? Hasn't she made enough of a name for herself? It's probably not a big deal. I'm just a little disappointed. I like them just to say Kagome. People be like, Kagome, the great priestess who saved all our butts time and time again and saved the world and pretty much time itself. Yes, that Kagome, not just Kikyo's reincarnation. That's just me being salty though. Overall, I did enjoy the episode. It's nice to kind of see where this is going a bit. We got to see that owl demon again, who seems to be serving one of the 4 perils. So the fact that he's kind of around at all times, kind of the eyes on everything, is interesting. It seems like this is really building into something big, and I want to see where it goes. I'm just hoping it slows down slightly, lets the characters breathe, because it's those character interactions that I personally love. Give them some quiet time. That's all I'm saying. So I want to thank everyone for joining me again today. Again, I'm very much enjoying watching these episodes and commenting on them. At the same time, what I've been doing is I've been watching a lot of other anime, and I'm making some fan art around those. And I like to give shorter reaction videos to some of my favorites, things that I'd recommend, things that I'd like. So if you have perhaps similar taste to me, if you like Inuyasha and Yashahime the same way I do, maybe you could check out these as well. Plus, it's kind of fun to draw something different from time to time. So if you'd like to catch those videos or catch my weekly Yashahime videos, please join me again. I would love if you would like, subscribe, comment. I reply to every comment. And would see me again next time. Thank you so much for being with me today, and have an artsy day.